Good day everyone. Today we are going on a trip which is not that far from Prague, about 40 kilometers. And I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised by the Dobříš castle. I have been here once before, 7 years ago, but the French garden had not been yet restored as it is today, and the Orangery was restored only 2 years ago. And the wonderful cascade of helium horses was also completed and restored only recently. So today we will visit all the wonderful places of Dobříš castle, and briefly we will look also at the premises at Dobříš castle. So I believe that you will like this refreshing morning view walk and the castle surroundings that offer a lot of positive energy. I was able to gain the morning walk, which I believe you will also feel the positive vibe from these nice shots of the wonderful surroundings of the Dobříš castle. Firstly, let's briefly talk about Dobříš castle history. As for the initial history of Dobříš castle, it is mentioned in written sources for the first time in 1252 as the property of the Czech kings, and even then there was probably a manor house here, because the first written mention documents the stay of Václav I. In 1422, Sigmund of Luxembourg left Dobříš as a pledge to the lords of Kolovrad, from whom Jiří z Poděbrady brought the property and left it to his sons. Already in his 15th century, Dobříš ownership was changed several times when important noble families, Schwamberg, Lobkowicz, Švihov from Rheinsberg, took to rule here. Dobříš became the direct property of the monarchs again in 1569, when Emperor Maximilian II paid off the estate from a pledge. He raised Dobříš to a small town and expanded the estate with 16 villages by other purchases. In 1630, Khan Bruno III bought Dobříš for 60,000 gold warlords. In 1720, a fire broke out at the Dobříš castle, which almost destroyed it. The reconstruction was carried out by Jindřich Pavel Mansfeld between 1745 to 1765, when the current form of the chateau was created. His daughter, Isabella, was married to František Gundakar Colloredo in 1771. This gave birth to the noble family Colloredo Mansfeld, who lived here until 1942, when the castle was appropriated by the German Empire. In 1945, it was confiscated by the Czechoslovak state and used as a writer's home. In 1988, the Dobříš castle was returned to the ownership of the family Colloredo Mansfeld that owned Dobříš castle since 1630, and current owner is Jerome Colloredo Mansfeld. Dobříš chateau is richly furnished with full of antique furniture, paintings and other rare monuments. The most interesting was the spacious hall, whose walls and ceiling were decorated with fresco by Jan Petr Molitor from 1746. As for the interiors, Dobříš chateau offers 11 exhibition rooms in the style of Classicism and Rococo, also a museum of ghosts where visitors can get know the ghosts of Dobříš. The exhibition in the attic of the castle was created based on local legends and is intended primarily for parents with children. A tour of the chateau historic interiors is followed by a visit to the writer's room with furnishings typical of the 1970s, which recall the period when the chateau served as the so-called writer's home under the administration of the Czech Writers' Union. Dobříš chateau served prominent figures of the communist regime and was the scene of many important events. During the totalitarian regime, it served as a recreation center for the Czechoslovak Writers' Union, which also held regular conferences and congresses here. After the Second World, the Dobříš chateau served the purposes of the Czech Literature Fund as a work and recreation facility, so it was called Home of Writers. Literary artists live here in individual rooms that were assigned to them based on voucher. The length of stay usually ranged from 1 week to several months. During the writers' era, many famous personalities stayed or came to visit the chateau. In the courtyard of the Dobříš Chateau, there is a rare ginkgo biloba tree of two-lobed ginkgo biloba, which is known for its healing effects. It's related to comfars and comes from southeastern China. The statue of an Austrian grenadier, in slightly larger than life size, is among the first artistically conceived cast iron sculpture in Bohemia. It also belongs to the oldest example of European artistic cast iron. The statue is made of hollow thick wall, so-called French cast iron. It was cast in parts according to a wooden model and then assembled. Its original form was created already in 1756, when the first two figures were cast in Strašice on the Zbrizo estate east of Pilsen. They were ordered by the government of Maria Theresa for Vienna New Town. The sculptures were about 2.5 meters high and about 2 tons. And now we are going to see a large French park, which was partially established in the style of the Schönbrunn garden. The French garden, with an area of 2 hectares, is spread over 5 terraces. The composition of the garden was designed by the French architect Jules Robert Decote in 1760. The garden is spread over 5 terraces, and the main reason for its cascading layout was its location on the cellars of the castle brewery. The original concept of the French garden was based on a symmetrical arrangement along the central path, which connected to the axis of the south wing of the chateau. At the beginning of the 20th century, this composition was significantly changed, and part of the central path was replaced with boxwood ornaments. The lower terrace at the castle is planted with boxwood embroidery. Dominant feature is a circular fountain with a sculpture gallery. On the second terrace, there is a cut porch. The entire castle garden is complemented by a rich sculptural decoration, mostly from the workshop of the sculptor František Ignác Plazer. Numerous vases and mythological sculptures, as well as the beautiful fountain, are the work of Ignác Plazer, who was one of the most important artistic personalities of the Baroque Bohemia. The fountain is unique in its technical solution. An ingenious irrigation system originally worked in the French garden. The water was pumped from under the Orangery to the Helios fountain and from there to the pool. Fountains and fountains on the lower levels of the garden. The French park underwent demanding revitalization from the 2018 season to July 2020. In the French park, for example, all retaining walls and the irrigation system were restored. During the reconstruction, the local fountains were also repaired. The Dobříš Chateau garden remains a rare example of Rococo garden architecture, which evokes the atmosphere of Vienna Schönbrunn with its floral ornaments and clipped fences. Adjoining the castle on the south side, it is a formal geometric terraces garden with numerous sculptural additions, decorative vases, a fountain with a sculpture of children playing on the ground floor, and a dominant fountain with a sculpture feeding the Helios horses on the second terrace, which is under the Orangery, where our walk will continue. The composition of the garden is completed by the Orangery building, with greenhouses on the 4 terraces. In front of the Orangery, it is accessed the entrance to the underground plumbing room with supporting walls, and a balcony is embedded in the slope. The formal garden originally continued south to the Tritonis fountain, behind which was a now defunct enclosure wall. The castle orangery was used for the winter cultivation of exotic plants, especially citrus trees, hence the name Orangery. The peculiarity of the Orangery of the Dobříš Chateau is the fresco painting covering the northern wall of the building, which was created between 1745 and 1765. The Baroque and antique architecture depicted on the wall creates the illusion of a fragmented building and can optically enlarge the castle grounds. Josef Placer, the son of the sculptor František Ignác Placer, creator of the cascading fountain that feeds Helios horses, is considered the author of the original painting of this orangery. The repair of the illusory facade of the northern wall of the castle orangery follows on from the repair of the balustrade. The existing surviving plasters have already been repaired several times in the past. A large part was completed and renovated in the early 19th of the 20th century. Therefore, it was necessary to proceed with a comprehensive restoration of the entire facade. During restoration, construction, architectural and technological surveys, historical compositions of plasters were discovered. The new plasters are restored to their original extent. In the end, the restoration of the illusion painting was carried out, which was preserved in archival photo documentation from 1978, when the last major reconstruction of the illusionary painting was completed. The restoration of the northern wall of the Orangery was completed in 2021 with the financial support of the European Union from the European Regional Development Fund. We are now looking at a unique cascading fountain. Adjacent to the fountain, and it is the Baroque fountain of feeding the Helios horses, which is the dominant feature of the French park of Dobříš Chateau. The fountain is a high-quality sculpture from the middle of the 18th century, the work of the sculptor Ignác František Placer. The fountain is situated in the main axis of the Dobříš Chateau garden, where together with the decorated scenic wall of the orangery, it forms a counterbalance to the chateau. The fountain was the subject of extensive restoration and modernization at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries. Towards the end of the 20th century, the sculptural decoration was dismantled and partial restoration and preparatory work on the sculptural replica was started. The partial restoration of the stone edge reconstructions was not very successful. Finally, thanks to the fruitful and broad cooperation, the owner of the Dobříš Chateau, Jerome Colorade Mansfield, the designer of the restoration project, architect Libor Soma, representative of the Ministry of Culture of the Czech Republic, the National Monument Institute of the Central Bohemia, and the Dobříš Municipal Office, the Institute of Monument Care, and the Příbram District Office. The Valobey fountain was completely reconstructed in the first decade of the 21st century. The entire orangery of the castle underwent extensive revitalization, where historical heating channels were discovered, which were preserved, including the restored unique interior fresco. In the renovated orangery premises, there are currently several interesting exhibits that are worth seeing, even though I thought it was more suitable for visiting children. In the orangery premises can be seen interactive exhibitions for the whole family, the gallery of Zdeněk and Emily Miller, as well as an exhibition of castle gardening. Given that there are other spaces in the orangery, such the boiler room, it can also be considered the economic and technical background of the castle. However, the representative nature of this building cannot be overlooked. The gardening of exotic plants was a prestige affair in the 17th and 18th centuries, which is why the orangeries became popular. Addition to the castle gardens, such as Schönborn Palace in Vienna or Versailles Palace on the northern wall of the orangery, as I already mentioned, an illusionary painting with architectural sense has been restored, and it is the larger outdoor painting in the Central Europe. In addition to the fresco, there are sandstone sculptures of mythological figures in the four niches of the northern embankment. From the eastern side, you can see the mythical hunter Melagros, the god Apollo, and the goddess Artemis and Aphrodite, while the statue of Apollo is probably the work of Mr. František Placer from the mid-18th century. The remaining sculptures show elements of an older style and can be considered remnants of the original Baroque garden decoration from the period of before 1727. Trust you liked this morning walk with me and will visiting Dobříš Chateau, which is nearby Prague. I will appreciate thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel, let him grow, and I will talk to you later. Tschüss!